Hello, welcome to part 2 of Business Plan Toolkit, Competitive Analysis. In today's class, we're going to talk about writing your competitive analysis using free library resources. This is part 2 of 5. In the previous video, we talked about Introduction to Business Plans. My name is Jillian Robbins. I'm a business librarian in the Business Resource and Innovation Center at the Free Library of Philadelphia. Let's jump in. So your competitive analysis is where you will identify your competitors and evaluate their strategies to determine their strengths and weaknesses relative to those of your own product or service. And this can be defined in 4 steps. Step 1 is to identify your industry competitors. Step 2 is profiling your key competition. Step 3 is analyzing the strengths and weaknesses of your competitors against your own company or service. And step 4 is ongoing, which will be for you to continually refine your competition against emerging and changing market conditions. We start with identifying our competitors, and this isn't always quite as obvious as it might seem. There are 2 complementary approaches possible. The first one is demand side, which these are competitors that are doing the same set of things that you're doing. They're satisfying customer needs in the same way. For example, if you are a restaurant, your demand side competitors are other restaurants. There's also supply side based, and this is identifying businesses whose resource base, technology, and operations are similar to your own. Note that these are not only today's immediate competitors, but also those that are just over the horizon. For example, such as cell phones once were to cameras, social networking sites once were to web portals, or the internet once was to video rental stores. And here I like to mention a famous business story about Blockbuster and Netflix. When Netflix was a young company, they approached Blockbuster to merge and sell their business to Blockbuster. And Blockbuster pretty much said, no one's ever going to use the internet to stream videos. And now Netflix is one of the most valuable companies in the world, and Blockbuster has been reduced to one little store in Washington State. The next step is to define the scope of your search, and this can be done in a couple of different ways. For example, geographic limitations. Where are your customers, and where will you be competing? Do you rely heavily on foot traffic, or do you have less geographic limitation because you're service-based? There's also your target audience. Remember in part 1, we discussed that my hypothetical gym was going to be marketing to women. You might have a broader target audience, or maybe you have a couple of different audiences. Another one is, for example, millennials. You can also define your search by your industry. Are you competing as a cafe or maybe a larger full-service restaurant? Are you competing with other design firms, anything like that? There's also your business size. Are you competing with very large companies, or are you a solopreneur doing a service-based business? And the example here is an entrepreneur hopes to open a boutique pet welfare clinic in the Philadelphia metro region. They would begin by narrowing down their search to the geographic area and then adding relevant industry codes. Industry codes were also discussed in the last video, part 1. These are your North American industry classification codes. Then the entrepreneur would review whether the size of the business and target audience should be added to refine the search. For example, Petco may not be a competitor, but their upscale brand Petco Unleashed may be. The database we're going to look at in this section is Reference USA, US Businesses, and this database contains over 57 million businesses. This is a great place to start with your competitive analysis. It's way better than Google because this gives you a very targeted list to start with, and then once you have that list, you can start going through individual records and seeing if they are a direct competitor, or if maybe you can limit your search down to 5, 10, or 20 direct competitors from this initial Reference USA search. So let's jump into the database. In part 1, we demoed how to access our databases. Another quick overview here. If you go to freelibrary.org/business, you'll arrive at this page here. You will log into your library account by clicking log in and entering your library card number and PIN. And from there, you'll be able to access most of our databases. If you don't have a library card, click on the Get a Library Card link. This is always going to be on every right-hand side page at freelibrary.org. So once you're logged in, scroll down our page here at freelibrary.org/business, and you'll be able to access our databases and digital resources. Go ahead and click on that red Premier Business Databases link, and that will take you to all 13 of our databases. They're listed alphabetically. Right now we're looking at Reference USA, so we're going to scroll down to the R's here. And when you click on that database, after you log in, it will take you directly to Reference USA. Now you'll notice that this is a collection of databases. We have quite a few here. For this section, we're going to be looking specifically at U.S. businesses. Also note there is a U.S. new businesses section as well, where you can find businesses that have opened within the last, I think it's the last 2 years to the last 2 weeks. But right now we're going to stick with U.S. businesses. When you click on search, it's going to bring us to this quick search feature. We're not using the quick search. It's not my favorite search. We're going to go directly to the advanced search tab. And once you click on the advanced search, we're now in the database where we can build our very customized list. So here on the left-hand side of the screen are all the different things that you can build your search using. We're going to stick mostly with business type and geography. That's our industry and our location. You can also see some other items that we can add into our search. Things like business size, ownership, whether it's a publicly or privately traded company or a home-based business. And there's also some great special selects, things like if they have a website or what year they were established, how large they are, as well as things that you can exclude. So if you're searching the Philadelphia city of Philadelphia, but you want to omit, say, certain industries like restaurants or law firms, or if you want to omit a certain zip code, you can do that as well. Once you select an item, for example, business type, you click the box and it will show up here in the center where we can further manipulate our search. We'll talk about that in a couple of seconds. One thing that always persists in our search is this record type box. It is going to default to verified businesses, and this is Reference USA's way of saying that to the best of their knowledge, these businesses are, the business information is accurate. It's been phone verified, quality checked. Many verified businesses usually have a good website, their Google page is probably filled out, everything's above board. But it's impossible to verify every business in the country, of course, so there is also the option to include unverified businesses. Reference USA knows that there's something there, there's something operating, but it might not be 100% accurate in this record. So you'll notice with just verified businesses, without adding any other limitations to our search, like business type or location, we have about 15.5 million businesses as of this recording in 2020. If you include unverified businesses, it's going to pop us way up to almost 58 million businesses. And this database is updated very regularly, just about monthly or weekly, depending on the database you're using in Reference USA. So it is updated regularly. Keep that in mind. These record numbers definitely change. But for today's purposes, we are going to stick with verified businesses. Note that many unverified businesses include things like daycares, delis. These are just very small businesses that are very hard to verify. Places that don't have landlines or websites are also more likely to be unverified. But for today, to demonstrate the database, we're going to stick with verified. So our most basic search is going to be by keyword and geography. So I've selected keyword. It's populated here in the center. And Reference USA is a really great keyword search. Thankfully, you don't have to know your industry code yet. We talked about in that first video how you can look up your North American Industry Classification System number, that 6-digit code. There's also the ability to use SICs, which is your standard industry classification. These are an older system. They stopped being updated in 1997, and NAICS replaced them then. NAICS are definitely broader, where SICs are more specific. For example, using an SIC code, you can search a business like yoga or yoga studio, whereas with your NAICS code, you're going to be kind of bound to more fitness and recreation studios or fitness and recreation. So for today, we're going to stick with NAICS codes, but definitely keep in mind that you can search SICs or NAICS codes. Additionally, you have the option to search all or search primary. And your difference here is going to be if you search all codes, you're going to be identifying businesses that have the code you're searching. For example, 722511 is restaurants, full service. If you're using all NAICS codes, you're going to find businesses that include places that are identifying as a full service restaurant, but maybe they're also a cafe and also a theater or whatever other industry they've identified themselves as. If you are searching primary, you're going to get restaurants, or you're going to get businesses that are primarily considering themselves a full service restaurant. That is their primary industry. That's definitely a more targeted search. All is a little bit broader. I generally use the same example here. If you were searching all NAICS codes and you're putting in something like pet supply stores, you're going to get things like Target and Walmart. They have a lot of codes because they are everything. They're an electronics store, a clothing store, a pet supply store, grocery store. Whereas if you're selecting primary NAICS only, you're going to get stores like Petco, which are primarily a pet supply store. So definitely play around with your search. You should experiment with this in all different ways to get a really thorough search. All that being said, let's stick with primary code for full service restaurants. I like how this is a really smart search. If you start typing in that code, that 2 or 3 digits, you will start to get lists of the different things that start with that. So if we wanted to find full service and limited service, we can select multiples. Once you click on the results and they're blue, they will show up under selected. It's also a good keyword search. Here, if we were to type in something like restaurant or the beginning of the search for restaurant, it will produce a nice search for everything that includes REST. So here's our restaurants. If we wanted to type in something like pet, we would also get everything that's included with the word pet. So here's pet and pet supply stores, pet care, and that number showing up there, which is a really nice tool. You can also do a full search with SIC codes as well. For example, just a quick search here, if we were to type in something like restaurant for SIC codes, you're going to get a lot more results, so it takes a little bit longer, but things like restaurant catering, restaurant menus, rest homes, restaurant cleaning. You can even find things like pizza or Italian food here. So really just a different approach to searching. So let's stick with our primary NAICS code here for full service restaurants. Here on my right-hand side, you can click Update Count to see in real time how that affects your numbers. Without adding anything else here, we have full service and limited service restaurants. We have over 620,000 results. Let's go ahead and remove limited service restaurants. All you have to do is click on that under selected. Let's update our count again. We're already down to about 500,000, not too bad. When you're happy with your results, you can click on View Results. This button will take us to our list page where there are even more features. So let's finish building this search. We have our restaurants. We're searching primary full service restaurants. Now let's add in some geography. So again, this is a lot of options. It's not a one size fits all. You have some choices. You can select to search by city or state if you wanted to generate a list of all restaurants in Philadelphia, for example. You also have the option to search a little bit smaller. You can search by zip code. You can search by county, neighborhood. You can even do a map-based search. You can draw a shape on a map by clicking Open Map. drawing a nice shape and identifying specific regions or excluding certain areas as well. You also can search by the radius, one of my favorite searches actually. You can add in an address and or a zip code, as well as a number of miles. Here you can do 0.1 to 150 mile radius, and it will just draw a circle around your area. For example, say you were looking at opening somewhere in Fishtown or near Fishtown, you could type in the zip code for 19125 Fishtown, one of the Fishtown zip codes, and say you want to look, I wouldn't do it too big, anything, 5 miles outside of Philadelphia is Upper Darby, for example. That's really big. We could add in something like maybe a 1 mile radius from 19125. If we update our count here, there's just 99 records for full service restaurants. But let's stick with Philadelphia. I like to start big and then hone in from there. So here we have city and state selected. We're searching for Philadelphia. Go ahead and select that accurate record, that Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Who knew there were so many Philadelphias? Now, if we update our count, we have 3,255 verified full service records. Let's go ahead and view our results. And when you generate that list here, you will see exactly a list of all of these restaurants based on the criteria that we asked for. They're listed in alphabetical order, starting with symbols and numbers. If you see this little symbol here, and this denotes that it's a corporation, and if you click on the record, it will give you a list of all the owners. Generally, they're publicly traded. So let's take a look at 12th Street Cantina here. Good choice there, South Philadelphia. If you click on one specific record, you'll get some general information, location information, if it's a verified record. You can search neighbors no matter what the industry is in the radius search here. You can either find similar or find all. Larger organizations will have their job listings here powered by Indeed. Here's the industry profile. This is a really important piece of the puzzle because it identifies the SIC codes as well as the NAICS codes for the company. So we asked for our primary industry to be full service restaurants. There's our industry, here's our NAICS code, and it gives you those corresponding older SIC codes. So they're identifying primarily as a restaurant, that's what we asked for, as well as a delicatessen. That's a secondary industry. So if you decided that, you know what, maybe I shouldn't be more searching delicatessens or pizza or whatever that SIC industry is, you could then go through here, click back, and revise your search. You could remove this full service restaurant and instead search an SIC code instead, and you could search delicatessen instead of full service restaurant. All that being said, let's go back to our 12th Street Cantina here. So beyond the industry profile, you have, depending on how large the business is, they may have a business profile filled out. They might have some different information. They also will have some business demographics. So here we have how many employees they have, usually a range, how long they've been in business or in the database. You get their credit rating score information, the last update. This is updated September 2019. This is a single location business and their location sales volume. Sales volume can be a little finicky. Note that they have to fill out their taxes for this information to be accurate. And we all know sometimes businesses aren't filling out taxes 1,000% accurately. We also, if you're lucky, you'll get hours of operation and a management directory. Again, that totally depends on the industry and the business. Company news and stock data are for publicly traded companies only. You'll get some estimates of business expenditures, example, what they're spending on contract labor. It's a restaurant, so not too much on contract labor. Some nice charts of size and employee size and sales volume by year. Business history, this can be interesting if they've changed names, locations, or executives. That can sometimes be a sign of growth or chaos. And you'll also get one of my favorite parts here is the competitors report. So the competitors report is generated based on industry, size, and location, and sales volume. And here, these are all linked as well. You can go ahead and you can click on them and be brought to this same record for that business. And you'll start to get really familiar with this because you'll notice for a restaurant that depends very heavily on foot traffic, you'll see these are kind of on top of each other. The industry is very competitive in this area, and these are all very close together. A more novel business or a service-based business, you might see that the location is way more spread out. So that's one specific record. One record's really helpful if you have identified, say, your top 25 competitors and you're still looking to narrow. The power of this database is generally the whole. So we want to see the full picture of Philadelphia restaurants. So a nice option here, if you select all of your records, a couple of things you can do. One is you can save your search. This is a great feature if you don't want to go through, 3,200 results. You can save your search and you can access this information anytime. You don't have to keep doing the search over and over again. And all this will require when you save your search is you'll create an account and then you can just sign in and access as many lists as you'd like. You also have the option to download your records here. When you download your records, you have the option to select what level of detail you'd like. I really like that custom field. From here, you can select the items that you'd like. They're in blue. So we asked only for verified records, for example, so we might not need to include that. We know they're verified. We can remove that and give some precious space to maybe different information. Anything that you saw on that record is available here. You might want their phone number and maybe their SIC codes and NAICS codes and website. You can include that on your list here. And then you can either email or download the records. You can download 50 records at one time if you're off-site at home. If you're physically in a free library location, you can download 150 records at a time. And you can also do these in batches, so it just might take some time to download your records. I recommend saving your search for sure and only downloading the records that you really need just to save time. You also have the option to create some really great heat maps. So 3,200 records is a lot, and we're searching the whole city. Maybe we want to see where these restaurants are generally clustered. So of course, restaurants, we have a lot of heat over here in Center City, lots of heat, kind of an old city, Northwest Philadelphia. And it also breaks this down by zip code. So our top locations for restaurants are 19107, 19147, 19103. Interesting information. You can also zoom and see to get a kind of a tighter picture of an area or a neighborhood. You can go in as far as you'd like. Here we can start to see our heat spreading out a little. Some heat there in Northern Liberty, Center City, by City Hall. And when you get close enough, you'll actually be able to pull up those records. So here we have Kenshin Asian Diner on Spring Garden Street. And if you see a plus sign, it means that there are either multiple restaurants really close to each other or in the same location. So really interesting. And you'll see once you get close enough, you'll start to get the picture on the side as well. And you can change this to reflect location, sales volume, or number of employees. And you can download or print this map at any view. Moving back here, there are some other details up top that are certainly useful. You can download charts and summary information and details. So very powerful database. You can also revise your search. We talked about switching between industry codes before, but here we might decide we don't want to look at the whole city anymore. Maybe we want to look a little more closely at a specific zip code. So I removed that city location, and now we can add in zip codes. Let's do that 19147 where we saw some good heat going on. Update our count. Now we have 232 records. So you can definitely get this information to be more specific, more close to your needs, and you can start thinking about adding in some other information as well. Really a fun, powerful database. And we're going to revisit Reference USA in the next section for demographics. Popping back into our presentation here. So after you've created your list of competitors and you've gotten a feel for your industry and your designated area, whether that's your city, a radius, or a zip code, I recommend narrowing your competition to your top 5, maybe 10 key competitors who are most likely to directly affect your business. And then we can start the fun part of profiling our key competition. So here's where you're going to start identifying the areas of specific competitive interest to your business. That could be something like the products and services that you're offering, geographic scope, your specific marketing strategies, the characteristics of your business, financials. This is where you can really start to investigate other businesses in your industry and see, are they offering something that's really unique that you can, let's not say steal, but borrow or innovate? Or are they doing something really poorly that you think you can enhance? And you'll be able to create a competitive grid to track your answers and responses. In Reference USA, you do have that option to download, and you can download to Excel and make your own very specific spreadsheet. You can get as nerdy as you want with that. So using Reference USA, of course, to start your list, then visiting their website, searching for articles and mentions, also reviews online. Yelp is so much more than restaurants these days. I was reading reviews of dentists the other day, for example. And if you can, visit in person to really further gather relevant information. You are basically a detective at this point. And don't forget to be as detailed as possible. Finally, your analysis section. Here you'll refine and begin analyzing the relative strengths and weaknesses of your competitors. That's again, kind of reading reviews, seeing where you can innovate or borrow. Profiling your competitors. Consider both those primary and secondary competition features and detail their strengths and weaknesses. What risks will your business take? What opportunities exist in this industry? And don't forget to review your templates online. We talked in part 1 about Business Plans Handbook so that you can model your writing and write a really thorough yet succinct competitive analysis. Always continue to refine your competition against emerging and changing market conditions. Don't be a blockbuster. Your competitive analysis doesn't end with your business plan. There will always be new competitors coming and going. So once you've taken this webinar and the other webinars in this series, and you have further questions, you can book a librarian at freelibrary.org/business. On our website, you'll see that Start Here page. If you click on Request an Appointment, you will be able to complete a Google form where I will receive information about your business and your research needs, and we can set up an appointment, or I can point you in the right direction of other resources. As always, if you have any questions, please email bric@freelibrary.org. You can also view this presentation in its whole, all 5 parts in one presentation, as well as the handouts from class at the URL right over here. Go ahead and complete that. Go ahead and go on that presentation, check out the handouts, check out the full presentation. And again, if you have questions, feel free to reach out. We're located on the ground floor of Parkway Central Library, and we're available by email. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next sections. Have a great day.